Okay. On me, and we have a few items on our agenda. First being the approval of minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Jim, this first, have we published somewhere, or it's the first time I've seen them?
I don't think they're published there.
No, I don't think they're published.
Well, I mean, not public, but
You sent it. They were sent out last week. It was sent last week.
Yeah, I sent them out.
Would somebody have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
yes, I suppose.
You did,
Opposed.
you have corrections to make?
I just say, I didn't see this email, and it wasn't on the website, under minutes, I just checked.
I don't think they go on the website.
I don't think they go on the website.
They're not.
No.
Okay,
It
well,
was
I
sent
just,
out Friday at 12:19.
sorry, I checked my emails, but I just, and I didn't see that.
Well, we'll,
You've already voted to approve it, so.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Okay. Okay, first item on the agenda is new business. We have a template that, well, actually was designed by Cindy Miller to, for people who want to make a presentation or ask for time on our agenda to at least give us a little bit of information up front, and I let you cover what we got. Cindy's got anything that.
Yeah, we'll let Cindy address it, but yes, so Cindy and I talked after the last planning board meeting, and we have an application process for rezonings and text amendments and various things that come from the planning board. But for just general discussion items, we really don't have a type of template or application form. And so Cindy's been involved in a lot of different boards in her career. And so she came up with a kind of a format that basically, just gives a topic, who's submitting it, kind of a summary and description, what the deliverables, timeline, if there's any costs that would be associated with it, and any additional items that applicant may want to provide to the board. So, I think it'd be very helpful for the staff and probably the planning board as well, just to have this kind of a guideline as we go through discussion. Sandy, thank you for your time and putting that together. The other pages are just, she used the past meeting we had in April 16th to kind of show what that would look like. So this is kind of an example of what, so this is kind of an example of what, on the club and on the tree ordinance, of what some of the things that will be added in that template. So, Sandy, if you have anything to add, please feel free to.
What I would say is, I felt like, so this is me personally, I felt like I didn't absolutely know the topics or where we were trying to get to. And so this always helped us before, in that you provided this guideline of what was going to be talked about and all the materials. And then we turned around and we got those materials 7 to 10 days in advance. That way, if Stu, I'm going to use an example. If Stu said, gosh, Cindy put something in here, I've got no idea what she's talking about. He could reach out to me and say, this is in here. Can you give me a little bit of context? So what I did do was take, these are all examples, but I was like, for the planning board, there were 3 topics that we kept talking about. So what I would say, one is the club, which we knew is due in 2024. The tree ordinance conversation, which wasn't just tree ordinance, although I guess it falls under that, but was the canopy, the tree canopy, and then short-term rentals. And if we said, yes, these are the 3 hot topics for right now, and we put timelines around them and action items around them and who was going to do subcommittees around them, would we move faster, would we get to where we need to get? So all this down here is just verbiage I put in based on what I heard. Definitely would need to be cleaned up. And then the next one is an example of then taking it one step further. So Stu, I use the tree preservation conservation as an example with your name on that to say, okay, well, this was what we were talking about. This is what was being laid out. What would that look like? And so all of it, anything else I put in here, they're just examples. But to me, by having who is speaking to it, what they're trying to achieve, and all the data up front, any examples and pages up front, give us more time to be productive.
So can I answer the question?
Yes, ma'am.
No, you said 7 to 10 days in advance, which I think is good, so if I wanted to submit something, I would submit this to Eddie and to all members of the board, or is it just to Eddie at this point?
Typically, it's just to Eddie, and then Eddie would push it out. That way, everyone gets the total, because you would say, everything unless it's emergency has to be in by this date.
Yeah.
Then at that date, you push it all out to everybody at the same time, and you're able to have discussions about it.
I like the idea of getting information farther in advance, so that you can, pose your own questions. Sometimes I feel like we're doing it at the next minute, so I like this idea. Thank you.
It's a really good idea.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt this as a item to be used when someone wants to present something to the board.
I guess what the time frame again?
To start using it.
No,
No,
I would say 7 to 10 days, so
Well, that goes against what Jonathan's told me. We're gonna change that again.
The way it currently reads is you have to present it at least 2 business days before. Stu, I can go get the book and I can read it for you.
No, look at your email. Email to me 30 days. Remember I asked.
Well, that's to get something put on the agenda. You have to have it at least 2 days before. If you want us to gather information for you, we need that. We can't always drop what we're doing to get information on something that we've already talked about and put it on and get it all together and get the agenda out on Friday. So you guys need to decide as a board what you want, and then we'll put it in policy.
So for me, the 2 days, if we have the information to absorb, because I have questions, right, and information. So I like the 7 to 10, which gives us a chance. We're not gonna meet, because that's not what we supposed to do, but to just shoot an email and say, when you say this, what is it that you're hoping that we will look at and achieve? And I get the 30 days, because if I'm saying,
But
Jonathan,
currently-
I would like you to go pull every piece of information you have about whatever, I get that part, but we should backs it up.
But the way it's currently written, you can bring it in on the day of the meeting, but you are responsible for bringing it in and disseminating it. I don't think that's good policy, but that's what our policy is. So if you guys want to change that,
Change this to 7 days or 10 days.
that we receive the information from you, if you want it on the agenda, then we will disseminate it 7 to 10 days to the board.
And if there is something that requires research out of consideration for your work, we can do it before the 7 to 10 days.
Yes, if you want us to do all the research and the prep work, then yeah, we may need wait to plan meetings.
Okay, so we're talking about 2 days.
Yeah. 7 days is for the board to get everything.
Okay, and how many days?
If you're providing all the information, if you can get that to us 10 days in advance, we'll get it to the board within more than 7 days in advance. If you want us to do all the legwork, which we're willing to do, we can't always drop everything we're doing to get it done. So then you would need to get it to us whatever date you guys think.
Okay, so we need to have the wording so that we'll know whether it's 10 days or 30 days or whatever.
Well, I think when you're putting it together, you'll know if you need help getting background or not. If you don't need help getting background, when I hear it, you should have it
To Eddie within 10 days before the
within
meeting.
10 days before the date of the planning board meeting.
And then all members of the board will receive it no later than 7 days before the meeting.
Okay. And well, I guess if you get it 10 days and they don't have all the information, this comes up the next meeting.
Well, and if we tag off of it, unless it's an emergency, so you guys help me here, but if we tag off of the top 3 items that we've been talking about, we should know that we need that information as we leave one board meeting going to the next one. Is that fair?
Well,
This is your proposal.
this is,
Tell me.
No, like, would you, like, how many noise complaints do we have? Well, I would already know to ask you that. We would be coming in, and if we had that information for June, we use it in June. If we don't have it to July, we use it in July. If we know we need 30 days, we pick which month.
okay.
So we're saying 30 days.
For them.
If it needs research.
If
If
it
it
needs
needs
research.
research, provide the stand,
Right.
30 days.
Now, see, one of the
7
issues, and I promise, Jonathan, I'll show you the email where you said 30 days.
I know what I sent, because I sent it to
It's not the paper, we're terrible. Being negative time here, okay? I'm just telling you what you sent me. I asked you a question.
I know I
And you replied to me, okay? And I'm telling you what you said. It's okay. But one of the problems with 30 days is our meetings are in 30 days. Sometimes you don't know what the topic's gonna be till after our meeting. We have to do 30 days, that's like today, for the next meeting next month. And see, that's the problem with the 30 day. So I just want to make sure we get the timeline down. Also, it's really important to me, I think probably more important than any of us, is we get to our public, to the town. So people view these things, if they want to come and make a topic or make a comment, they can do that. I think that's very important. We keep that in consideration too, so.
And so I'm gonna go back again and say, unless there's an emergency, we can agree as a team that it's short-term rental, it's tree ordinance, and it's the club for right now, then what are all the questions we would wanna know about that we could go ahead and get to this group? Then you're working it.
I agree 10,000%, because there's been times I've come in here and I bring information, that's Eddie, what about this? And Eddie's not prepared, he didn't know I was gonna ask him a question. It'd be great for him to have that data already. And that way we're all, know we can move fast.
Right.
I agree with that. If
If
it's
it's something you already know about and you have the information, you only need it 10 days in advance.
Right.
That's the new proposal.
Now, is this for all committees?
No,
No,
this
this
is
is
for us.
planning board.
I'm only recommending.
Does this have to be approved by the town council? Because we only make recommendations.
I think it's a procedural issue,
Yeah.
like, I would think town council would need.
Not since it's just for this committee, I wouldn't think the council would have to approve it. If you find out they do, then you can bring it to them at their next meeting.
They may want to use this.
They may want to. They may.
It could be helpful for a lot of communities,
Yeah.
you know, that way you can kind of have a little.
Okay, so we're talking about somebody presenting, or somebody, presenting it to staff 30 days ahead if they need staff's help, or 10 days if they've got all their information. Okay. Do we have a motion to
I so moved.
approve that? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay, I think it's well done, yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on to 3 items that we have discussed several times. First being the tree ordinance, which we have, I think has gone to, the tree committee, but you can bring
Yes,
it
sir,
up
Jim.
today.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just give a brief update, kind of where we're at on that. So last Thursday, the tree committee, did meet. They had a copy of the tree ordinance that's, in the Unified Development Ordinance. And was asked by me to, go through the, make any changes or suggestions or modifications to the current ordinance that we have and to any current permits that we're, doing. There have been some discrepancies identified. Some of the permits, there have been several variations of permits that's floated around over the years. So need to kind of get that consistent, and in the ordinance, some inconsistencies with the ordinance. We allow trees by permit to be cut for view purposes. The ordinance doesn't explicitly say that's one of the reasons cut. So that's something that needs to be clarified a little bit more. And there may be some other, things the tree committee will identify, types of trees that they want to see, put up or replaced when they do cut trees for new purposes. Something that's more native, maybe a small variety of tree like a dogwood or a rhododendron. So that's things that, they're kind of looking at. Yeah, and we're hoping they can come back to us before the next planning board meeting. There's some dates that's been pushed out. It's kind of a tight window with July 4th and things going on. So our next planning board on July the 16th. So we're hoping to get a meeting prior to the 16th and bring some recommendations from that tree committee back to the planning board, for the planning board to review.
So it'll come back to the planning board and then it'll go to the city council,
Finally, it'll get to the city council.
but it will come back here.
It will come back here. You will take the recommendations from the tree committee. I mean, you may not take them all, but you'll have a view.
You can answer them, but
And I am part of the
Yeah.
zoning administrator. I'm part of the tree committee, so,
just tell them they're welcome to come.
yes, certainly invite them. I'll be the liaison, I guess, but, yeah, if any of them want to come and support their recommendations, they're certainly welcome to do so.
Okay. Well, that doesn't need any action because this,
Yeah, we're kind of in limbo right now. We're going to give the tree ordinance committee a chance to review, make their recommendations so we can kind of feed off that and move it ahead.
I mean, we don't need to act on that today. 'Cause it's
Well,
already-
we don't have those recommendations in front of us at this time, so.
I do have a question.
Okay.
And so you guys can say, it's not on the agenda, take it offline, I'm good with that. So the last time there was the tree canopy program, it was more about the strategy
Mhm.
around the conservation versus the ordinances about what you can. So when it comes to the tree our strategy around levels and shrubbery coverage, et cetera, is that the tree board or does that come back here? And I just don't want it to drop and let's not move forward asking questions, whose committee it is.
I would think that since it has something to do with trees and canopy, we have a tree committee and they should consider that and bring back any,
And I think we may have a guest with us tonight. I don't know with the Forest Service if they're going to, if that was anything that's going to be presented, but, if not, then we can certainly, when that date is set for the tree committee, reach out to Stu, because I think they had contact with the, I don't know if that was with the Forest Service, Stu, or with another agency that did the canopy survey. But, we can get them maybe to come to the tree committee meeting.
yeah, they ought to go there before they come
That's an
to us.
option.
I disagree with that. So I had this plan 2 months ago, and you know that. I had the forest ranger here to speak to us first. We made a
He
site.
didn't come.
He's sitting right there.
Yeah, but he didn't come to that meeting.
I know, I told you guys. Remember I told you you couldn't make it?
Yeah.
Family emergency. So I invited him to this meeting.
Well,
And
he's
I put this,
welcome.
and I put them on the agenda. I don't want to put that on the agenda, so if I please let him do a quick presentation. Is that okay?
And able to come back to the tree committee meeting when they,
And I can probably have, I don't know. Yeah, I've been sitting down all day.
okay.
Andrew, can you please tell us about what, I had copies here. You've already sent that one time. I can,
Yeah.
here's another copy if you want.
Yeah, and
You
I've
sent 2
got,
months ago.
I've got some stuff here, I did not know what to expect.
Andrew, we know nothing about them. So whatever you say is.
Okay,
What's your name, sir?
my name is Andrew Harson, and I'm with North Carolina Forest Service. I'm the county ranger here, which means, in short, if you've ever used the county extension people, extension specialist for anything, I'm almost like a forestry extension agent. However, I'm not associated at all with them. I'm with a different agency. We do a lot of programs that are free to a lot of landowners, and my duty is in Ontario County. So any kind of urban tree stuff, I do a lot of insect and disease. I can give people recommendations on. it looks like this tree needs to come down, or, you know, you can put a tree in the ground, here's some stuff that would help it thrive or live a long life. I'm not an expert on tree canopies. I reached out to somebody, and he said that a canopy assessment gives a bird's eye view or a snapshot of the state of a community's urban forest. So it's basically just a data collection. So somebody, not necessarily us, I don't know if we are capable of doing that, I'm certainly not. Just because but there are companies that could come in here and do a complete inventory. They can inventory samples of stuff, property or common property, if it's direct, and you don't want to manage it, they can do that. But all it is just a snapshot. So this is what you got, is what it is. And so I primarily deal with large scale timber management. So the first thing I ask somebody is, what do you want to do? What's your objective? What's your goal? So as a tree board, that's what you need to come up with. You need to set that, and if you haven't, you need to set, what do we want our green space canopy cover to be? Don't think about where it is now. Think about what you want long term for you, for the town, whatever. So you gotta have that goal. And then this canopy assessment would just give you a snapshot if it's a sample, which is the most economical. Because a complete tree inventory, you're talking every single tree is looked at, measured, plotted, is my understanding of it. Very time consuming. So the sample would just give you, a percentage of that. And then you would take that information and, well, we're low or we're high here. We've got a flush of one species here where we would like diversity, so maybe we could do something to bring in some diversity here. Looking behind me here, and then up there, there's dead ash trees all over the town. So that's something that could be part of your plan, is to mitigate, standing dead ash trees, because that one's going to fall on the power lines potentially. This one might impact the road potentially. So those are things that, once you get your inventory and your objectives, you can, tweak it and make it what you want it to be. And like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I would love questions, because I can answer questions a lot more than talking.
Can you help our tree committee determine what objectives they need to
Maybe not
address?
me. I would love to be involved in that. I don't know that I have the brain power and the experience to do that, but I could probably get somebody within my agency that is an urban specialist to come up here and speak on that. It would just
Well,
have to
it
be.
seems like that would be a good place to start, to figure out what you wanna.
Well, it's up to y'all.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research on this because it's really interesting topics to do. And as an example, Wake County, they did one of these assessments, and on their site, they talk about what they learned from it, but they have things that you might want to ask to do an RFP. And so they're a request for proposal. So there are several, even in North Carolina, that have went after this and done this, and that might be a place for us that we can start.
I think my agency offers some cost share money for a canopy assessment. Don't quote me on that. But I think that we do. Yeah. So we can help get you a canopy assessment. It's either the town of Boone or ASU is starting well, I don't know if they just starting it, but they have a tree inventory on campus. And it's probably ASU more than the town of Boone. But they have an inventory on campus because they have so few trees compared to the space they want to make sure they're good. So they more or less know where a lot of these trees are. I think they're trying to build it up. So that might be a good thing with this. Bigger municipalities for sure would have a good thing. Charlotte has got a jam up urban forestry program. They've got a really good staff of certified arborists on staff that do planning and ordinances, and they've got a really good program because of the growth.
Yeah, and I think it is getting the data about the who and some, requests for proposals that are out there to say, how do we do it cheap? Like, I went and researched this Planet Geo, and if you listen to the CS, he already has our data. In a YouTube video, he has all the data across the world. And it's stored, because it's AI generated, and it's stored, and he can give it to you in 2 days. Don't know what for, right? And that's the canopy assessment, but there's so many different options that it's like, how do we leverage what you guys know and what you're doing, and then what else is out there, because you haven't completed one, right?
Yeah, and personally speaking, I think it's better, obviously quantity is good, but quality over quantity. So just because you got enough trees to raise a garden, so you got to weed your garden, if you want to be out. So the same, you can't necessarily see through it, it might look pretty to some, but the standpoint is probably not great. Because there's only so much nutrients and so much water that those trees are fighting for, so there's a balance.
To sum it up, the canopy program kind of gives a town like ours a baseline of where we are, snapshot of where our trees are, so it would help us for planning. And like say, for instance, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, we can do another snapshot and we can see, what our situation is. Are we losing a lot of our canopy? Is our canopy growing? We can design policy around it, using that data, which is critical, because we have no idea.
But it's not a once and done thing.
Right, that's right, it's not one and done.
Yeah.
And it's cheap, what it sounds like. The prices on the sheet,
I'm not familiar with my, so,
it's all
it-
from
it
your
could be-
website.
yeah. I have to wear so many different hats.
Yeah, I understand. It's actually, like I say, it's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, but that's not our decision.
And there's a lot of different companies that do it, there's probably, consulting arborists that you could do it, it's just, a small team of people as opposed to a company that does this.
From what I understand is, and I talked to the big honcho in Raleigh, your big boss. He says, you apply for you guys, they contract it out, they do a matching program, and right now they're in the process of changing that contract. It had someone like,
The sample, the parcel, you can tailor it to how large scale. Yes.
How much you willing to pay for
if you want the data, if it's good for town, that tree people think, tree committee or board wants to do it also, I think it might be something to look at. Like I say, the final decision is going to be town council when it comes to paying for it. Like I say, it gives us more data to make data-driven decisions, which I like to make, instead of just kind of guessing.
Small. Yeah, who's probably not gonna do that much.
Oh, it's on.
Do you want to do the road right of ways, do you want to do town property?
It'd be cheaper than the Arbor Day lunch. That's a joke.
So, yeah, this is from our website, and I've got a copy of justification planning. You can pull that. North Carolina Urban Forest Council is a good resource. And there's a street tree inventory, what is it? The different types of things, I'll link that with you.
And I agree with Jim. Like I said, this would be a good thing for our tree board to look at. Like I say, we also are, part of our charge is protect trees, this committee. So you might be asked to go to our tree board and give us some information, but I thank you for your time. This is good information.
Yes.
Yeah, when it talks about number of land covered classes, would that be where someone identify the types of trees?
They would, if they inventory a tree, they would collect how many species it is, how tall it is. I don't know that they would go into age, I don't know how relevant that
I
really is.
just, it's all covered in kudzu, it's covered, but that's not good.
I'm sure that there would be, so that would be like forest versus grass would be a good extreme class.
And if you got to actions, and so somebody walked through and we said, you have 4 dead trees in your yard, are they accountable for cutting them down?
Yes.
You talking about private owners? Are you saying they have to, or they?
Not saying they have to, I'm just saying that would be at their expense to have.
Oh, yeah. And their desire, whether they want to pay for it, or wait till it falls on their house.
That's right.
But it falls on their neighbor's house.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I think it'd be good to have him or someone come to the tree committee when they get, to help them, when they want to recommend.
You have to have a call with you.
You mentioned dead ash trees, and I've noticed a lot of them. Why are they dead?
There's a,
Particular blight?
no, it's just a needle from Hayesville, it's called emerald ash borer. And, it's specific to ash, and then there's a couple of different varieties of the, for y'all purposes, it's just ash trees. It's,
Choosy little bug, aren't you?
I can see it.
and they are, there's really nothing you can do. When you see signs of it, the tree's already dead.
Is there anything true that prevents them?
You can treat it with a cocktail of chemicals if you want to go that route. Most of your arborists around here would know what that is. But it's an annual treatment and it's done on a diameter basis. So you pay so much per inch of diameter because from what I understand, they drill holes in the tree and the tree takes the chemical up and kills the. But it's an annual thing. Deal, the side of the mountain economically is not feasible, but if you got yard trees you really don't want to die, that's what you use.
Okay. Well, thank you. Anybody else got any questions?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We're all so thankful.
I'll take that one.
Yes, I'll run back in.
So Andrew, this one
We
quick
would
question.
get in touch with you if you don't want to come back in.
Yeah, that,
You did, you said that you would go out to an individual's property and do a tree assessment if they had a diseased tree or a question. And they just contacted the Forestry Service in Watauga County.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're a very busy man and spread pretty thin. Generally, you know how long it takes to.
it really just depends. If I don't have anything going on that day and somebody calls, then I can come out today. So
Is there somebody in your position in Avery County? Because about half our town's in Avery.
There is. He's new, within the last 6 months, he's new, so he's still got a whole lot to do. His toes.
But there is somebody available.
There is, yeah. And I've, since I think the vast majority of y'all is in the office, is that right?
Most,
That's probably 75%.
yeah, I guess.
If either way, if he's got something, if somebody in Avery County wants it, I could come up with him. Sometimes people get a little picky on that because it doesn't count toward my activities in my county. It goes to him. But he's new and he's learning, and I can help him.
Okay.
Are you may have said this, are you associated with the university's, horticulturist?
No, they can, we're just like a free consultant.
To us
Citizens of the county, yeah. Anybody that pays taxes in the county is who I work for. We cooperate with a lot of different people, but, my check is signed by Commissioner Beck.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would like to make a motion that we, send this down to the tree board,
Okay.
with Eddie and maybe share with them and see what they think. And they may say no, they may say yes, and we can go from there.
Okay. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'll come back here with the card.
Okay, short-term rentals.
Jim, I'm not finished with the tree ordinance. Okay.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I just brought some, Eddie was so kind to send me, tree permit information. And I crunched it the best I can. It's just, I crunched it the best I can. It's just, you guys to digest. If you see any questions in there, I'll be glad to answer it, but it's all, I mean, I can email Justin, I'm sure.
Stu, these requests.
This is the number, the bottom chart is from last year, 2023 tree. The type of the bottom says the type of request and the number of trees cut. The upper one is just the number of permits that were given out from 2013 to present.
Okay. So there were 85 last year, and only,
That's what I was trying to figure out.
and only 4 so far this year.
Way more. Maybe they looked up from a previous year.
Well,
Number of tree permits, yeah.
And
Number of trees.
this data is it's not very reliable, unfortunately. Like I say, there was 2 different permit forms.
Pruned wouldn't show.
No. Like I say, there was 2 different forms, and a lot of the forms weren't completed correctly. So it's kind of, it's not very reliable, but it gives you some information to look at. And like I said, I appreciate Eddie sharing that information with me. And like I say, it gives us a baseline, gives an idea of where we've been and where we're going and how much cutting's been done and areas that we might want to think about. That's all. That's why I want to share that with the committee.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, any other comments on the tree ordinance?
One question, and that is, we may, as we talk about the tree canopy and other stuff, and if we are to be done, because they're not associated with App State, the question becomes, do the students over there look for projects to do, and could they participate in a project over here to assess our trees?
I guess if they got students that do that,
So it's just another,
there's another
Check
avenue,
into.
yeah. Okay. 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 Short-term rentals.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Jonathan actually was the one who had prepared a handout on short-term rentals. He took the time to go through that, highlight pretty much things that are allowed by that Wilmington case of appeals that was presented to you. So I'm gonna let Jonathan kind of take that one and run with it for a few minutes at least.
Okay, so North Carolina is very plain and clear what the law says we can do and what the law strictly prohibits. So, some of the suggestions made at the last meeting are just not, they're not options for us here in the state of North Carolina. We have to follow North Carolina law, and North Carolina law prohibits us from having any kind of registration program or any kind of permitting program or any kind of permission. So
that's false. Because I just went, Jonathan, you go to Beach Mountain, go to Blowing Rod, you must register, it says it right there in ordinance, you must register. It says
It's
it
not,
right
it's
there.
not, it's not.
no,
Approved by state law.
it's fine.
Now, it's not a permit. I agree with that, but it says right, I just read it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Would you,
Go ahead.
in 2017, the General Assembly added language to section 168, 424C to bar cities from, quote, requiring any owner or manager of rental property to obtain any permit or permission to lease or rent or to register rental property with the city.
I'm just telling you what.
Well, I can't, I'm not the manager of Beach
I
Mountain.
agree. I'm not doubting what you can read correctly. I'm just telling you what I read on Beach Mountain.
Okay, well, Beach Mountain, we have enough money to fight this, we don't. So I think it's pretty much an issue.
I have a
Oh, yeah,
question.
I don't have a problem with that.
I have a question about that. Would it be possible for the town to have the squares of potential places for these little houses and rent those out to people? And then we could charge taxes and stuff like that And if the people don't like it, they don't have to live here. And if they do like it, but they start screwing up, the place goes into the dump, then we can throw them off the thing. But the land itself, is that possible to not sidestep this horrendous piece of paper, but give us a solution where we could watch what's going on with the smaller things, since apparently the state wants us to have them in all the towns.
I'm not sure about that. We would have to, I would probably refer that one to the town attorney.
Okay. Can we do that?
He's not here with us tonight, so I'll run it by him.
So are we bridging two things? Are we bridging short-term rental and bridging tiny houses? Is that where that came from, maybe?
That, yeah, this whole thing looks like it applies to everything. And so I'm wondering if the town owns the land and is paying taxes on it to whoever it is, then we can control what actually goes on the town's property.
That wouldn't impact people's rights to rent their own homes. That must add more to the undesirable rentals.
That would put the town in the,
I think the concern raised on that, you guys straight there, was once you open it up, then you open it up, it's not just on that piece of land for tiny houses. You can have tiny houses on the land that used to be a golf course and tiny houses on the,
But if we have an area set aside for tiny houses, that's all the place that tiny houses can go, right?
Point of order. We're on short-term rentals and somehow we jumped down to tiny house.
Tiny homes isn't,
We're talking about
that
short-term
was something
rental.
that
I'm sorry.
that went away, you know, they,
Sorry.
That's my bad.
so
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, if you look at page 11 of the Wilmington case, I have highlighted on the right-hand side some of the things that we can do that are in compliance with North Carolina law, and the town would be open to any of these. Most of them we already do, but these are the things that you can require of a short-term rental in the state of North Carolina.
and which one is that?
Page 11 is
Uh-huh.
May I make a suggestion?
Okay.
Like I say, the permit thing, like I say, it'd be great, more for you, Jonathan, than anyone else, because so you could charge people for these permits, but also you can get an idea of how many short-term rentals we get. But I've never really been, that's never been a driving force for me, to be honest with you. I'm more interested in parking issues and or the time, quiet hours, I guess. So, I still like the idea, is, for example, at the top of Alpine 2 weeks ago, there's a house that was sold last year, right, you get top of Alpine on the right, it's a rental, and sold as 2 bedrooms, there were 7 cars there. 7 cars there for a 2-bedroom house. It was college students, and they're having, and I'm jealous, I'm sure they're having a party and everything. But yeah, they're parked on the streets, and this happened to me numerous times, especially when I live at the lakes. And I think that's something that's doable, and I think it's reasonable. And I said this again, especially if I was a owner of a short-term rental house, I don't want college parties going on in there. I think we're doing them a favor. I think we're doing it a favor. And correct me if I'm wrong, please, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever we do here, we're just making a recommendation, right? Town council makes policy, right? So why are we talking about lawsuits? We're not gonna cause any lawsuits here. Town council might. Sorry,
Well,
sorry.
we can steer it.
So if we make a suggestion,
Stu,
no one's gonna get lost
Okay.
soon here.
you said a lot of things, but I think the bottom line is, if we already know that it's going to be shot down, why make a recommendation on it?
I don't know that.
I do know that because Jonathan has told us that we as a town, the decision has been made that we won't do anything that is against the law of
I
North
agree.
Carolina.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so that we don't make a recommendation that goes against the law.
I'm fine with it. I didn't say anything about anything against any laws. I said two things, parking and the,
On-street parking and, noise is already regulated or nuisance ordinance, down 7 levels. All you gotta do is call the police.
that's where the problem is, right there. You don't live here, okay?
I know live there.
I don't-
I'm saying law is a law. If you got an ordinance that regulates
Here,
on-street parking.
please let me speak for a second. And my wife will back this up, and all my neighbors in the past will back this up. When you have a next door neighbor, okay, that rents out their house, you want to be good friends with their neighbor. You don't want to make bad neighbors. You try to. And this happened to us all the time when we were at the lakes. It got so bad, we had to call the police. But then guess what happened? Our neighbors got mad at us for calling the police on them. What I would like to do is prevent that, is by putting in an ordinance for parking. So hopefully we don't have to do that. I don't want to call my neighbor.
That's not gonna change it, Steve. It's because you have an ordinance for parking, don't mean people are gonna break the law.
Then why do we have ordinances?
So the citizens have a right to call the police. I
Well,
mean,
you still
somebody's gotta be the
call
bad
the
guy.
police anyway.
If it's bothering you, you got to be the one that calls. I mean, that's just the way the law works.
Then why do we have what, that makes absolutely
We
sense.
have the ordinances that you're requesting.
Then great, let me hand this out. You sure pass it down, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Other towns, then explain to me why all these other towns have parking ordinances for short-term rentals. Is it just, they are that out of touch and we know what we're doing? Is that it? We are so much smarter than them? And name one lawsuit, name one, I'm sure there's hundreds of lawsuits that are just tied to parking for short-term rentals. How many lawsuits have there been? Name one.
Well, I'm not gonna name you, but I'm gonna gently push back.
So
So if you have
please
ordinances.
answer my, I have a question on the floor. I have a
I
question
said,
on the
I
floor.
know of none. So I said that.
She also
So,
doesn't-
but I also
you have-
said,
Now, you
put an
don't-
ordinance. How's that any different than having an ordinance today that people aren't following? You're gonna have people not follow it. Then someone's gonna have to call somebody, it's gonna be the police, and the police are gonna have to get involved. It's no different. It's no different whether
It is.
you write it up X or you write it up
It
Y.
is different because it's preventative. It's preventative management. That's why we have a speed sign out there to keep people. But if they do speed, they give them a ticket. That's the whole purpose of that speeding sign is preventative to stop people from speeding. This is the same thing. If they know ahead of time that they can't park 7 cars at a 2-bedroom house, then hopefully we are preventing that problem from happening. So I don't have to call my neighbor, the police on my neighbor's house. This is preventative. It's done, and Jonathan knows this is a lot about his job, is preventing problems before they're happening. That's why all these towns, including Blowing Rock, which has this ordinance, I just handed it from you. Blowing Rock did it for some stupid reason. Beach has it. Boone has it for some stupid reason. Why are they doing it? Are they that stupid? Are they that stupid?
Still,
Greensboro has it.
at this point, I think we're going around the.
No, we're not.
Yes,
This is
we
a
are.
good, healthy argument.
No, it's not,
And it's a
it's
good
not
debate.
because you're the only one who's talking. Everyone else is saying, we're gonna follow what the law says. You're the only one who's disagreeing at this.
And the law says you can do this, Jonathan. You point that out to her, please.
We have, but what you're trying to explain to you is we already have an ordinance. If you park your car on a Seven Devils Street, we will tow it or ticket it. Do you want to put in another ordinance? We can put in another ordinance if that is the recommendation. But we already have an ordinance that addresses this issue.
Oh, it's just something to read and do it either.
Does not.
Oh, well then,
Can I-
It does not
let's,
address,
you
it
guys
does
know.
not address it. Then why, Jonathan, once again, let me ask you, why do all these other towns have it? They have the same ordinance that you're talking about, the parking. Why did they add it?
You can add it if you want. You've got to get them to do it, and then you have to.
Jonathan, can I ask you, answer my question.
I don't need to answer your question.
Well, there
Let's
you
let
go.
somebody else answer.
There you go, John.
City of Greensboro's being sued, City of Asheville's being sued, City of Wilmington's been sued,
City of Bull Rock been sued twice.
City of Bull Rock's been sued. Why do we want to be sued?
For parking,
It don't matter what it's for.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have
Can
any?
I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's take the example of 7 cars out on the street. If your policeman go past that without somebody calling, would they stop and check on it?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll make it easy for you guys. I like the motion to adopt this short-term ordinance. Say no, that's okay. We're gonna get it on the record. And also, we don't get sued. We only make recommendations.
But I guess, yeah,
Huh?
but here's where I'm confused.
The recommendations, because we are a separate body. We
To the
make
rest of the
So
board members.
I made a motion.
Okay. The proposed ordinance is legal. We can pass that if you choose to pass that. We have an ordinance already on the book saying that you cannot.
Point of order, Chair. I made a motion.
You made a motion, is there a second to the motion? Yes, the motion dies for lack of a second.
All right, it's on the record. And we didn't get sued. Amazing.
Not you.
You're gonna have to call the police.
I know.
Okay. I guess we've covered a short-term rentals. Tiny homes. Would you like to?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Okay, so tiny homes is really an industry term. State of North Carolina really looks at single-family residential homes as being particular square footage that's connected to permanent utilities. You know, that's part of the North Carolina Building Code. The industry likes to push tiny homes. It's a selling point. It's, you know, affordable homes. And so we haven't really defined a tiny home. We define single-family residential homes with a recommended square footage of 1,300 square feet, which by law we can't. That's why it's recommended. So there's a couple. There's been some questions about whether we should include some definitions in our ordinance. Typically, ordinances, when they're silent on a use, that use is deemed to not be a permitted use within that town or county. So we have some definitions that currently aren't in the ordinance, but we certainly can add those more uses. So I've sent this out earlier in the email. I don't know if board members all received this, and this is just certainly can be modified, changed, thrown away, however the board chooses to look at it. But if you wanted to define it, can be modified, changed, thrown away, however the board chooses to look at it. But if you wanted to define an RV, this is from Eddie Maxwell at the McCarter County Building Inspection that he sent me. Vehicular type unit primarily designed as temporary living quarters for recreation, camping, or travel use, which either has its own motor power or is mounted on or drawn by another vehicle, including park model units constructed to the ANSI A119.5 standards for recreational park trailers, are not permitted in any zoning district of the town of Seven Devils. That would be for RVs and park models. The other information I sent you on park models is this kind of an industry advertisement, basically. But they do refer to that ANSI designation. And then tiny home, any structure or vehicle intended for residential use, whether temporary or permanent, and is not connected to permanent utilities and which does not meet the North Carolina State Building Code requirements for single-family residential use, is not permitted in any zoning district of the town of Seven Devils. Some of that verbiage is my own, so.
But all these refer to temporary,
Well, tiny homes could be permanent. I mean, you know,
but the state law says you can't be under 500 feet.
500 square feet for single-family residential.
Right. Oh yeah, this says temporary or permanent, I'm sorry.
But, you know, that may change. That's why I just refer to the North Carolina State Building Code, because 2 years from now, the state building code may say, well, we're going to say 400 square feet. Yeah. You know, or 700 square feet.
But you couldn't have permanent residence that's not connected to utilities, could you?
Well, you've got some standalone units, some of these RVs, park models can come in with generators or water storage, their own, wastewater disposal systems that, you know, so you can have self-contained units,
Well, that's true, okay.
generally more for temporary.
Yeah, I just got my mind
Stretch things.
residences instead of,
Of course, these would be, you know, these are definitions that the board concurs with, these would be, sent to our, town attorney for his review to make sure that, you know, he concurs with that. Definitions.
Eddie, if I can, tiny homes can be over 500 square.
It's not a tiny home, it's not by North Carolina building code.
They have to be.
It's just a home. The tiny home is
it's
just
a little house.
a tiny home.
I know.
It's a little house. It's a monitor.
But it's-
They call
Yeah, but I've seen, I did a search before I got here, and there's tons of tiny homes that are over 500 square feet.
Yeah.
Right,
And that's fine. They're permitted here, so those.
yeah, yeah.
them.
So they're not a tiny home. They're just a home. That's a small house.
It's a
But they call them
manufacturer.
tiny homes.
They can call anything.
They call
I mean, that's a marketing monitor.
Yeah, it's a marketing thing, I get that, but so, this definition would include those over 500 square feet or not?
No, this is just those under 500 square feet. If they're over 500 square feet, they're just a single family residential. I did not put the square footage on these. I said North Carolina building code because the square footage can vary. State building code may change next year. And then we'd have to amend our
The
ordinance.
state says
The state building code is what sets what a single family residence is.
Right, but they don't talk tiny homes that the state does.
No.
Yeah, so there's no state doesn't touch that at all.
No, either a house, by a single family residential house, the state building code, or you're not.
Right.
They don't make the distinction between a tiny home or a
except
mansion.
by 500 feet.
If it's over 500 feet, and you have the bathroom, kitchen, and utilities, then it's a house.
Yeah, but then the question of tiny homes is, they're really mobile homes, they come up on a chassis.
They can.
So a
I mean,
600,
somebody could build a 500 square foot site built, tiny home here in 7 days.
Well,
what I'm trying to say is, it, square foot tiny home, whatever they want to call it, it's some chassis, go out, drive it up the mountain, put it on their lot, take the wheels off, lock it up, they're good to go.
Not permitted, not permitted.
Why is it?
Because it's an RV. If it's on wheels, unless it's been a certified modular, it's an RV.
And we emailed back and forth on this.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find anything in the state that says that.
Well, that's what this RV is, a vehicle type unit designated as a temporary living quarter for recreation. If it comes in on a chassis and it's into this ANSI code, then it's a recreational vehicle. If it's not a recreational vehicle and it's on the chassis, and it's not certified as a modular home by the state building code, then it's still an RV. It's an RV. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, it's either a mobile home, manufactured home, as we call them now, or it's a recreational vehicle. And it's all the way, you know, we've been around on this, but it's the way they're titled.
Right.
Recreational vehicles are a titled vehicle, just like your car or truck.
Right.
You may not put a tag on it, but it's got a title. It doesn't have a deed.
But the tiny homes don't have a title or tag.
Tiny homes, if they're site built or modular, don't need a title. They'll have a deed. They'll be part of real property.
with the building
Attached
permit.
to the property and they'll be treated as real property. If they're not that, then they're not permitted.
So if I want to come 700-foot tiny home on chassis, and that's it's a small house, and they're nice, don't get me wrong. If I start driving, hey, Eddie, I'm gonna put it on my lot, what exactly are you gonna point to and say, no, they can't do that?
Well, because I'm gonna say, are you certified as a modular? And they'll say, they'll have to show me the paperwork, if you're
Right.
certified as a modular.
Okay,
Okay, if you're not certified as a modular, well, then you have to be, a manufactured home, a mobile home. Mobile homes are not permitted.
Right.
In town 7 levels.
right.
If you're not that, then you've got to be a recreational vehicle.
Can't have that.
Can't have that?
Okay, we run the same, that's what I wanna hear.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, as long as we got that covered.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's messy, it's messy nowadays, it is, it's
It is.
confusing, and it's messy. and
Well,
what's the
that's the
standard?
whole reason we have modulars on the chassis. That was the way the industry, the manufacturing home industry got around the zoning regulations where you said you can't have mobile homes.
Right.
So they made something look like a mobile home, but it's no chassis.
That's right,
Got the building codes to certify it, or it's built to work on the building codes.
Right.
So basically, you can have what looks like a double wide, say in the town of Seven Dollars, and it would be permitted.
that's right.
If it has those, clarifications.
And the tiny homes are not HUD approved.
No, tiny homes, if they are HUD approved, they're an RV or mobile home. If they are HUD approved, they're a mobile home.
Yeah, I'm glad you're working on it, is that confusing? You got that straight, I mean, because it doesn't more, I'm telling you, it's,
Well, see, that's why they have to come get a permit.
okay.
I mean, that's, somebody in the administration has to know what these distinctions are.
And these tiny homes, he says they do not meet North Carolina State Building Code requirements for single-family resident use. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm sure. All right, I think this is great. I mean, thanks for working on this.
We'll have the attorney review.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because
Okay,
this is good. Thank you.
okay, do we want to,
The question is, do you want to have it in your ordinance?
that's what I was gonna say, do we want to, propose putting this in our ordinance and have the attorney, determine if we can say this? I guess if it's legal.
I would say it's the opposite way. We should send it to the attorney for review, and on his approval, our motion is that if it's approved by the attorney, it can go to town council to be added to the level.
That's a better way to say that, yes. Okay, did you make that in form of a motion?
That was my motion.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second,
That's it.
What, who's that second? Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm gonna,
Did you
this language will be, sent to the town attorney for review. And if it's approved, forward it to the town council for review,
for approval.
for approval.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thanks again, Eddie. You're doing
Sure.
it. Appreciate it.
And
We
that's,
have, excuse me, go ahead.
no, that was all. So Joan Strada, Cindy Miller, and Paul.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Okay, moving right along, do any of our citizens in attendance have any comments to make? Okay.
Not a big crowd.
Any board members have any comments?
Yeah, two things. Well, I do write correctly whenever I can do it. Eddie, on February 20th, 2024, minutes, I made a recommendation to change the minutes, the part where the zoning administrator Barn advised that NCS 667 prohibits regulations applied to the short-term rentals only sentence has to be stricken from the minutes. Hasn't been done. Is there any reason for that?
I believe we did do that.
I just printed it out. It's still on there.
Is that the revised minutes you printed out?
I would have to do that. I don't have those files in
It's,
front of me.
it's, I mean,
I will have to, but I know we went through that.
That was what it was. That's what the board voted to have it straight out.
This is the amended.
well, see, I didn't get a chance to look at those minutes. But if it's been done,
Discussion thing.
but the original ones haven't, like I say, I swear I didn't get that original minute. The other thing was to thank you. This other thing is, on April 18th, 2023, that's over a year ago, under Eddie's suggestion, to change the alternative energy ordinance, we approved as a committee to change, make edits and changes to the energy ordinance. And to me, I went and checked, it hasn't been done yet. Is there a reason? I'm trying to figure out why.
No, it has been done. Are you looking at the website?
Well,
Is that where you got the ordinance from?
yeah, I mean, it's a website.
We've
It's a
had some trouble with that thing. I don't know. We've submitted the updated versions of the ordinances to the provider, I think Civic Plus, and some of of those, they're just not, they're pulling old data. I don't know how
They
they're
did,
getting
when they redid the
transition to
new
the new
website,
website.
they migrated, it was our request for them to migrate, like going back X number of years, and so we are seeing discrepancies and.
Okay.
But the board has
acknowledge
adopted it, it's official.
Okay, well, like I say, if someone wants to do this, then they would, if they read that, they would go, gee, yeah. I'm just saying, if
Yeah, and that,
that's a bit
we'll,
of
we'll follow up on that, Stu,
Thank
that, we've had some trouble with those, unfortunately.
technology. I love technology, I know that, I love technology.
It's one of those things, you get so many moving parts, you don't even know you're
Oh.
not seeing the mistakes.
I hear you, I understand. That's good, thank you.
Anyone else have comments? Or with the quietness of the board, I'll make a motion, or I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Get up.
Thank you.
4 minutes. What time is it? Who's it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can. I'm saying, who they playing tonight?
Okay, I'll take what yours, that you put it down, and
Who's the victim tonight?
The Tigers.
I'm-
Well, thank you for coming and not going to
We
sleep.
don't want things that are.
It was close.